Today I'm heading out to my neighbor's land to do some surveying for a new road he wants cut in. I cut up some grade stakes here this morning and we'll get it all loaded up and we'll head up there. So I'm up here at my neighbor's property here, and we're gonna do a bit of surveying, but I just want to give you guys a quick rundown of what I'm doing and how I'm getting it done. It's not the proper way to do it, but I think it'll get pretty accurate. I have a laser rangefinder here for golf, but it should do just fine. I have a point on the road that I can reference from satellite imaging, and with the laser rangefinder and a compass, I should be able to take all the distances and all the angles referenced off of north and off of that point there on the road. And I should be able to plot it on a map of approximate of where this is going to be. It'd be very helpful figuring out the grade of the road with the contour map. And if I'm running into any wetland issues, that's kind of a big concern up here is wetland stuff. So let's get into it. Just finished up with my initial survey here of the first 50 feet of the driveway and got it all laid out with grade stakes. It's not as level as I originally thought going across grade, but should be able to get this leveled out and graveled and shaped up. This road's just to access the back 90 acres of this property here. It's not a driveway. It's nothing too particularly fancy. Just need to be able to get a truck back there. So should be able to get that done with the conditions here. I took all my measurements down in my field book, and then we're just going to get this all transferred over onto an additional map, and I'll show you guys that here in a bit.
Here we are in my CAD program. I was able to generate this contour map with all the data I collected from the land, as well as some data from GIS. Basically, all I did was take all the measurements I took. These are basically just XY coordinates as well as elevation data, and the program is able to extrapolate the contours, and this is pretty accurate to any other contour map I was looking at for the area. So it is fairly accurate. Originally, I was thinking that the best route for this road would be to come along this way or maybe even closer to this property line and then turn up. But it's really steep across the grade here, so I don't think that's going to be the best. And you'd be making a pretty tight turn on a fairly steep grade, which isn't ideal for trailers. So I'm thinking that starting over here and then coming along this low area here, then up is going to be the better bet. It's not nearly as steep of a turn. It is still very steep. The road itself, it's about a 33% grade, which is about as steep as any road you can find on like normal roads. I think the steepest grade in America is about 38% or so. With this contour map here and plotting out the road itself, I was able to create a contour map. I'm not entirely sure what these are called, but basically it just plots out the slope of the road as it goes up. And you can see here we have some very steep grades, like I said, about 33% here, which is definitely the worst section. All this chart really is just the distance versus the change in elevation as you go. And you can see we do have quite a lot of elevation gain here. I think it's about plus 140 feet from the road edge here. It's probably doable in a truck, but it's definitely not ideal. However, fixing this 33% grade is going to be kind of prohibitively expensive. I did figure for it, and that's this line here is about 20% grade, and that would end up being about 1,200 yards of material or so trucked in, and that's about 80 triaxles. So it's going to be very expensive, and I don't think it's really worthwhile considering this is just to access a bit of hunting land and ATV riding. There is a clearing over here that he does want to get to, but there's no current plans to building a house on this property. Maybe down here, but not up in the back 80 acres. There is an access road that comes this way through here, but this is someone else's property, and so my neighbor wants access to his land on his own land and not someone else's, which makes sense. Here it is fairly swampy and fairly marshy, so we will have to kind of bring in some fill and raise the grade just a hair. But it's really just a 2-foot increase here just to kind of get us room to fit drainage in there and fit a culvert underneath the road, and then basically just put a swale basically all the way down here on either side just to catch all the water that's coming down this way and funnel it through that culvert and to get it drained. Fortunately, there are no wetlands anywhere on this road. I know I had mentioned that wetlands are a concern. It would have been a pain in the butt to get all the permissions to do the wetland abatement that you need to do for that. So I'm very glad we don't have to deal with that. That being said, this is still a very long road. It's probably closer to about 900 feet because this isn't factoring for the curve. It is just kind of a straight line. So it is probably closer to 900 feet. At least that's how I'm figuring my math. And based on that, if we do no slope adjustment at all, it's looking to be about 10 to 15,000 just in materials and a huge amount of labor to get a road all the way back there. I think my neighbor might just want to start with this for now, get a parking pad down here just to start, and then maybe clear this but not gravel it yet. But either way, it should be honestly a lot of fun doing this land clearing and the road building itself. So stay tuned and I'll take you guys along for the ride.